Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm sorry I had an accident, and so it will be interesting how in a car a presentation can be. We will see how. Let's see. Thank you very much. Now, I want to talk about Turkish religious education system and relation with Alevism, Bektaşism, and I think there is need for peace education rather than for such an understanding that instigates polarization and leads to conflict. Because in Turkish education system, religious education system, I think there's a problem because it is said that supra section kind of education we are following, but it is not working like that. Alevis are still saying, okay, these lessons we don't need, and it's Sunni Islam is understood here, and all students are not Sunni. There are Alevis and there are probably atheists, and not homogeneous student we have. So the lessons must be, the classes must be also not homogeneous. But they insist, I also in the commission of Religious Education Commission, and they insist these classes will go on Sunni Islamic kind of, I don't know, I said this kind of education, statist, Sunni Islam, statist. Also, Sunni Islam also not autonomous in Turkey. They are not autonomous also. They are related to state. State controls everything. State says this will be this. Okay, it is finished. And I can't see any academician from, not too much, but there are some, any academicians saying, okay, this is not a good system. This is a problematic for Turkish education system, religious system. They say, okay, we follow this education system. This is supra-section. This is very good. I don't understand. Diyanet and all academicians from Faculty of Divisions are happy with it. I don't understand. So I looked all the books. It's a complicated and too much. There are too much information here, but I will choose some of them and share with you. And when we look this sectarian mentality, and which became a state policy over time, used religious services, religious education to promote a statist Sunni Hanafi understanding and to ignore the Alevis. Beginning in 2005, following Alevi efforts to bring the issue before national and international courts, superficial and problematic additions were made to the compulsory religious culture and moral knowledge textbooks. While Cemevi's Alevi places of worship were denied the rights granted to mosques, Sunni places of worship, education in the Alevi faith was hindered, and imamative schools, which operate at secondary schools or high schools level, and theology faculties were organized so as to serve Sunni Islam. Even though in the recent years, courses on Alevism, Bektaşism has been launched under theology faculties. I investigated those also courses. There are many courses now launched under theology faculties and other graduate level programs, and departments interested in Alevi studies have been established at Ankara Hacı Bayram University, Nevşehir Hacı Bektaş Veli University, and Malatya İnönü University, for example. There are some courses in theology faculties. They remain insufficient as they are far from meeting the need in terms of their curriculum and faculty. Given that there are over 100 religious studies programs intended for Sunnis in public and private institutions, and that the public sector provides graduates from these programs with employment opportunities. it can easily be conducted that these courses and programs on Alevism are only ostensible. The discriminatory practices in the domain of education appear to reinforce the feeling of victimization among the Alevis and contribute to the Alevi-Sunni polarization. If you come to the school textbooks, the reality, I looked up to history books and also religious classes textbooks. And there are too many things, but I will find, for example, let's start with content in a philosophy textbook, for example. This is not a religious classes textbook, philosophy textbook. There are excerpts from the high school textbook entitled Introduction to Philosophy, Felsefeye Başlangıç, by Professor Mübahat Küyel, member of faculty at Ankara University School of Languages, History and Geography. In this book, and there are such quotations. Look, Ahl Sunnah are those who believe the Quran as it is and abide by its judgments. The Shia are those who support Ali on the question of leadership of the religion. They are those who divinize Ali. They are the gulat, the extremists. Those who do not recognize the leadership of Abu Bakr and Omar are called the Rafida. And those who regard the son of Ali's grandson to be the real leader of the religion are called the Zaydiyya. They believe in palingenesis and the idea that the Spirit of God passed to the man and then returned. That is, they believe that God or the Holy Spirit passed to Ali, and from him his sons Hassan and Hussein. According to the Gulat, pork and wine are not haram. That is not prohibited. They are halal, that is allowed. Extramarital sexual affairs, adultery, are also halal for married men and women. This must be the reason why a group of mystics, often Shia, who emerged with claims such as I am God and Al-Haq, or there is only God under my gown, paid the price for such behavior and ideas with their lives. Moreover, defeatist actions revolting against state authority also tried to legitimize themselves through this path of theory and philosophy. And here she gives examples of Pir Sultan and Nesimi, Imaduddin Nesimi Simavi. She says, because of they are saying we are God and Al-Haq, and that's why they are killed, Pir Sultan and the others. And this is the philosophy book. Look, why she is telling this, I don't understand. Why? Because from their childhood in the family, Sunni families, some, I don't know, discourses teach them that Alevis are gulat and Alevis are very bad, so problematic. And what can she do? She learned it, and some imams, khojas, also still carrying this issue. And for example, in Germany, I spoke with so many people in Duisburg. They said Kızılbaş and Yazid issue is still continuous here. Kızılbaş and Yazid. I don't know who teach it. Then I am thinking that there is still in such places, for example, perhaps in Alevi family, they say Sunnis are Yazid. We can come across such sayings. We have, but mostly Sunni teachers, imams, and hojas are still, and the books. There are such books. For example, in Ahmet Hamdi Akseki, the second head of Presidency of Religious Affairs, writes in his book, says Alevis are zindik, zendaka, and satanic. They have satanic, how can I say, satanic tendencies, such words. In a meeting, I talked about this very well-known professor said, no, we read this book. There is no such thing in this. There are no such sentences in Ahmet Hamdi Akseki's writing, they said. I said, okay, let's look. Let me show you. Let me show you. I am carrying this in my computer. I opened the pages. Oh, we didn't see this. Look, he says Alevis are Zindik, and they are satanic people, and they don't understand. They don't see. They don't. Such sentences are not seen by theologians of Turkey or members of the Diyanet or such. Very interesting, very interesting. And I have my time is going fastly, but I will find some from religious classes, some quotations, for example, and some information. Yes, let me find it. Okay. Okay. Now perhaps you can rest a bit. I am finding some information. I will give some analytic information and then finish. Yes, I found it. Okay. Yes. Okay. So among the set of 9 required religious, culture, and moral information textbooks used from the 4th to the 12th grade, it starts from the 4th grade and goes to 12th grade. Religious, culture, and moral information textbooks, and only those intended for the 7th and 12th grades include sections on Alevism Bektaşism. While the 2008 edition of the 12th grade textbook covers the topic under the title of Alevi Bektashi Thought in the section Mystical Interpretations in Islamic Thought. Alongside religious orders, later editions intended for 7th and 12th graders use the title Alevism Bektaşism. Another point that strikes attention is that while the terms Alevism and Bektaşism are employed, the word faith is not used, is avoided, and they are described instead with words like thought and culture. Alevi Bektashi thought, Alevi Bektashi culture. They can't say Alevi Bektashi faith. I don't understand. If they say what will happen to Islam, I don't know. Because they see Islam in the only Sunni Islam they can see, they can understand. They don't know other interpretations of Islam. If you do such a thing, you are then tariqat. You are tariqat. They look to this subject like this. The textbook chapter covers Alevism is problematic by itself, as it addresses Alevism in a section entitled Mystical Interpretations in Islamic Thought, alongside orders such as the Naqshbandiya and the Qadiriya, which have no connection to it. How you can put Alevism, Bektaşism with Naqshbandiya or Qadiriya? They are tariqat. But Alevism is not just a tariqat. It's a different path, this different understanding of Islam. And
Hocam,
another,
you have 1 minute. I will say.
Okay, one paragraph I have done. I'm finishing. Okay.
Thank you.
Another point I will refer to regarding the sectarian content in the school textbooks is that Alevism, Bektaşism is not covered under a dedicated section. but is entirely confined to being part of the section on interpretations of in Islamic thought. I would like to illustrate this with an example for the sake of more clarity. While the 9th and 10th grades textbooks cover the topic of worship under the sections worships in Islam and cleanness and worship and Fajr elaborate illustrated explanations of the Sunni faith practices of ablution and salat. They fail to include Jemevi worship, for example, the main form of worship in Alevism. Worship in the Jemevi is only briefly mentioned under the title Interpretations in Islamic Thought, clearly and irrelevant title. And the last, let me come to the pages, for example. Nearly 1,700 pages, these books, from 4th to 11th grade. But when we come to Alevism, it's 20, 30 pages. Its place in those books. And the other parts, pictures, poems, everything related with Sunni Islam, everything. That's it. I think it's enough. Then what must we do? I couldn't speak in my car, but uh, uh, we must say, okay, in those books, if this is a compulsory class lecture, we must say, okay, take your pages and fill whatever you want in Alevism, Bektaşism. But they don't do that. They say, okay, we are Sunni, but no problem. In those pages also, we will control those pages. Alevism, Bektaşism also, our understanding will put those books. It is unacceptable. I don't understand how you can make peace education. How can you make peace in such a society? Everything you control and everything from your sectarian perspective. This is in 2020. This is not acceptable, I think. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And from my car to everyone.